basically what we're doing today, but now we're doing it with exponential. I know you don't have blank in yours, so that's fine, but maybe circle it because it's important. So we're on the notes for today. So vocabulary, domain is the interval of x values where the function covers. And so usually if they have arrows, what did we say the domain was? Beautiful. Range is the interval of y values that it covers. And so we'll go over that. That one is not going to be negative because we'll see we're learning about asymptotes today. Increasing is an interval in which the x increases as the y increases. So as the x gets larger, the y gets larger. Decreasing would be as the y decreases, the x increases. And we'll look at that on the graph. And then the end behavior is when x goes to infinity and negative. So what this looks like right here, this is probably one of the more tough lessons because it's not really any math involved. It's kind of distinguishing different parts of a graph. So first thing I'm going to look at is the domain. And so right here I can see it's going this way forever, the left and the right forever. So what's my domain going to be? If it's going left and right forever. Yeah, negative infinity to positive infinity. Remember, we just talked about it. If it has arrows, it's going to be that's always your domain. Your range is now going to be a little bit different. So we're going to be learning about something called the asymptote, which is right here. I'm going to write it, but it's right here. What I remember is the body part that sounds like asymptote is your rear end, right? End behavior has to do with your asymptote. That just means, see how it looks like a plane taking off and landing right here? It's basically where it lands, this line is called your asymptote. So you're looking at your asymptote, it's basically where the plane lands. And so right here, when I look at this asymptote, we always look at the y value. And so what is the y value of that line? 0. So your asymptote is y equals 0. So now when we look at range, when we look at this function, this never touches the asymptote. So even though it looks really, really close to 0, it never actually touches it. So I'm going to start, my lowest y value is going to be my asymptote, my 0. But it goes on upwards forever and ever. So what's going to be next to that? Infinity, right? So it looks something like that. So the range has to do with your asymptote. Now, as I'm looking, is this function increasing or decreasing? Because remember, I read it left or right. Is it increasing or decreasing? Is it going up or down? Up, right? And I read it left or right. So since it's increasing, I'm going to put a little check on increasing. The last thing we're going to talk about is, God bless you, end behavior. And this is what a lot of people get caught up on, but you are going to be learning end behavior for a while now. So end behavior looks something like this, and it looks a little bit complicated, but it's not. So this first part says as x approaches infinity. That means as x, put it away, come on. As x is getting larger and the numbers are positive. So I would be looking on this side of the graph, right? See how these numbers are getting larger? They're positive. They're asking what's happening with my y value. So what is, as the x is getting larger, what's happening with the y? It's going up. Do you guys see that? Towards what number? It is going up forever. Infinity. So we look at it like that. So this is infinity under x. And we could go, oh, the y's are going up forever. So this should be infinity. So end behavior is looking at the end of your graph. This one says as x approaches negative infinity, which means one is going this way. Or you can see negative numbers. Now, this is where your asymptote goes. It's getting closer and closer to what y value? What is your asymptote here? 0. So as x gets smaller, the y is getting closer and closer to 0. That's what the end behavior is. Oh, thank you. Cool. Does anyone have any questions about that yet? I'm gonna do a few more examples. No? Yes, maybe. Okay, let's try another one. So, for a brain bug, who can raise their hand and tell me the domain? Mark. Yes, negative infinity to positive infinity. We can see there's arrows. Remember, domain means your x values. Beautiful. For a brain bug, who can raise their hand and tell me the asymptote? Where is the planned landing, basically? What is it? -4. Beautiful. Do you guys see that? It's landing at -4. So it'd be y equals -4. Perfect. Who can raise their hand for a brain bug and tell me the range? Go for it, come on.
Or no. It's you. No.
What? Beautiful. Does everyone see how he got that? Because the range is bottom up. So when I'm looking at it, it's the asymptote. See, it doesn't go below -4, but it goes up to infinity. So that would be your range. Is this function increasing or decreasing? Remember, we read it left to right, so like this. So is it getting smaller? Is it going down or up?
Yeah.
Down. So this one would be decreasing. Then we look at the end behavior. So this says as x approaches infinity, that means as it goes this way. What is the y getting closer and closer to? What y value is it getting closer and closer to? What's this line? The asymptote, which is -4. So we just have to look out to what's going on. Then as it approaches negative infinity, as it goes this way, what's happening with that y value? Going up to what? Beautiful. Perfect. Okay, so we'll do a few more together. So next one, who wants to try domain for a brain bug? Raising your hand, Tyreek. Yes, negative infinity to positive infinity. Who can raise their hand and tell me the asymptote? Go for it, Kamari. -2. Does everyone agree with him? Beautiful. Y equals -2. Who can raise their hand and tell me the range? Come on, you can capture it for King. You guys have energy. You can tell me the range, Tyreek.
-2
Yeah. -2 to infinity. Is this function increasing or decreasing? Increasing. See how it's going up? So it's increasing. And the end behavior. So that means as x approaches infinity, what's happening with my y's? Yep, they're going up to infinity. And as it approaches negative infinity, what's the y getting closer and closer to? -2. Beautiful. I want you to try the next one on your own. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to try this. I want you to see if you could get the domain range. Is it increasing or decreasing? What's the asymptote and what's the end behavior? So I am going to, Tristan, what's the domain for this one? How do I write it? Yeah, negative infinity to positive infinity. Beautiful. Damon, what's the range? The first one I think. Beautiful. 1 to infinity. Carlos, is this increasing or decreasing? But we're doing it left to right. So basically, is it going down or up? Decreasing. Angel, what's the asymptote here? What is it? 1. Beautiful. Tyreek, as x approaches infinity, what happens with my y's here? What's this one? Yes, it gets closer and closer to 1. Perfect. And then Kimberly, what did you get for this one right here? As x is approaching negative infinity. What's this one? Yeah, positive infinity. Perfect. Does anyone have any questions about that one? You guys most of you breeze right through it. All right, last one. Ripsiana, what's the domain here? That last one. Negative infinity to positive infinity. Kanya, what's the range? 0? Beautiful. 0 to positive infinity. Michael, is this increasing or decreasing? Beautiful. It's going down. Victor, what's the asymptote? Yep, y equals 0. Brandon, as x approaches infinity, what happens to your y? It decreases until what number right here? 0. Perfect. And then Kamari, as x approaches negative infinity, what happens with your y? Yep. Beautiful. Do you guys see it? When you're taking the end behavior, it basically has to do with your range right there. It's one of those two numbers. Cool. So for the remainder of class, you are going to practice. So you're going to practice with these worksheets. It's the same thing. So the more you do it, the better you get used to it. Your last part is your ticket out the door. So you're basically looking at this graph. It's one question. The graph is on this side of the ticket in the out the door, and you're answering those questions. Does that make sense? Cool. So you are stamping your own work. I'm going to have the binder up here with the answer key, and then you can do your ticket out the door. If you are behind on Delta Math, I would suggest you kind of get onto it. The Delta Math for this also looks like this. I want to show you because it's a little bit different. So if you go to 5.5, this says finding the range. I want you to keep clicking give up. I only need you to do 2 questions. Keep clicking give up till you get to an exponential one. So for these, I want you to give up till you get to an exponential equation. That's why I only needed 2. So see, there's one. So you're just doing the range, but you give up until you get to the exponential one. Same with domain. And then end behavior is like this. So they're saying, okay, as x gets bigger, the y's are going towards infinity. So you're finding which one it looks like that. So it's one of these 2. Then as the x gets closer to negative infinity, you can see the y's going towards infinity. So I would know it's that answer. You're only doing 2 of each of these. So it's only 6 questions total. Does that make sense, what you're doing for your Delta Math? So you're going to keep clicking it. So here's an exponential, but you're going to keep clicking it until you get exponential. That's why I only want you doing 2. Any questions on that? No, yes, maybe. So, okay.